Okay. Well, it's my great honor to have this talk today by Lydia Velez-Herrera. She runs an organization in Hartford called Lilly Barreras. And so feel free to ask her about the work that she does with people who really have nowhere else to turn. She focuses on people with disabilities, especially mental health issues, but she also just works with folks who are currently homeless or have any other kinds of needs. And what she's going to be sharing in this talk today. And she has an amazing history of activism work with the Connecticut Women's Education and Legal Fund, and lots of other organizations throughout Connecticut. She's originally from Puerto Rico, and I'm going to just let her tell you her story.
Hi, my name is Lydia Velez-Herrera, LVH, better known as Lilly. Today I'll be your keynote speaker. I am super excited because you'll get to hear from someone from the patient's perspective. If you have questions about how did I get my injury, how did I recover, what do I do now, I'm going to try to answer all of those for you. Look at a computer through my eyes. I get to hear my voice. I get to do this on my own. That to me is victory. Where did my brain injury come from? The assumption is that because I had a child abuse relationship where my head was banged into walls and my chin was cut into, and I had a stepfather who was very, very unkind, I gained many, many injuries as a child. I went through life, as I think most of us do, trying to look for the best. And boy, did I. I've had great opportunities in my life. I'm very proud of being a Puerto Rican woman, fully bilingual, fully bicultural. I was born in the United States and raised in the beautiful island of Puerto Rico. I was born to an alcoholic father who I love to death, to a warrior of a mother who I love to death. Mom was smart enough to divorce my father when I was 5. I have no traumatic thoughts or even moments in my head about their separation. She was smart because that was not a healthy relationship. And she was also a victim of domestic violence. To protect us, she decides to go home to Puerto Rico. Although she had a job here, she was doing so well here. And I'm the oldest of 3. We get to Puerto Rico and mom starts doing what she does best, fighting and find her way through. In her journey, she finds her second partner. The second partner of hers didn't like me very much, and needless to say, did I like him. I knew exactly what he was up to. I knew he was full of lies, he was an abuser, and he treated us, my sister and I at the time, like we could be bought with candy and presents and all of those things. I never fell for it. I always had a very clear understanding somewhere in my heart that Daddy and I were pals. Yeah, that's funny because my father was an alcoholic, an active alcoholic. He still is in recovery. In his 60s, he became clean. So if you want to know about my brain injury, I turn up at 42. One day I wake up and I have this beautiful husband, beautiful daughter, granddaughter. I'm the daughter that every parent goes to. I'm the sister, I'm the cousin. I'm that person in the family, and I'm very proud to wear that badge. The problem solver, the thinker, the one who will run. Not that day. I woke up at the age of 42, remembering that morning I wanted to come out of my skin. The anxiety was so bad. I didn't know that's what it was called. I wanted to throw up. I didn't feel like myself. My body felt limbo, and I felt like I was in the body of someone else. not mine. Needless to say, my husband nor my family knew what to do. At the time, it was just my husband and I living in the house. I had a great career. I did advocacy for the community. I worked in social justice. I'd already worked in communications. Um, I've had a nice, pretty nice, comfortable life. I was a single mother for a while there, but I had nothing to complain about. But this day changed my life. So now I'm 42 years old. And I wake up, I'm not sure what my relationship is with my husband. My anxiety is overwhelming. My body is out of control. My tremors are horrible. My headaches are bad. Now, note to self, I had headaches for a very, very long time. A very, very long time. There was gaps in my memory for a very, very long time. But, I thought it was all normal. I thought, hey, it happens to everybody. And I muscled through. Tylenol, Excedrin, ibuprofen, all of them were my friends. I got to a point where depression was kind of interrupting my life. And through a friend, I was recommended to go see a therapist who then recommended me to a psychiatrist who would give me medication to sleep as needed and some anxiety medication that I really never used because I didn't quite like the way it felt. Also, some medication to help me with my concentration. That one I would use every once in a while when I had big projects. I did all of this in secret in my house. Nobody knew that I was going to a clinician. Nobody knew that I was seeing a psychiatrist. No one did. You might ask yourself why, if you were an advocate. Inside, internalized, somewhere, I knew that if I would tell my family that I was in treatment or going to see someone, that they would think there was something wrong with me. If I'm honest with you, I thought there was something wrong with me too. And there was lots of things wrong with me. I never complained, never cried on anybody's shoulder, never complained about my struggles. That was not me. I was the fixer. But now I'm 42, things are not like that. My husband called for aid, called my mother. They're very close. My husband is a military man, retired after 34 years, still has a civilian job, and found this wife completely different to the one that he married. The wife that he married was full of love and joy and what can we do to celebrate others, to one that really didn't recognize what her days were like. The anxiety was horrible. Taking a shower on my own, I could fall, I would tremble, I couldn't hold a cup of coffee. Anybody who knows me, coffee is really important in my life. This was really hard, really, really hard. And it brought a lot of shame. It took my husband, I'm sure, a lot to call my mother and say, there's something wrong with Lydia. Could you come? I'm sure that not as soon as he hung up the phone, my mother was already making arrangements. I have a very young mother. And she came home, and home to me meant Connecticut. And she talked to me and she asked me what was wrong. And I said, I don't know. She was clear to me. I knew she was my mother. I knew I could talk to her, but I had a lot of gaps. I had lots of questions for her. Mommy, why did this happen to me? What's happening? Maybe I have cancer. Maybe there's something wrong with me, mommy. Mommy, 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 mommy. It was as a colleague of mine or artist that I know, Faith Callahan, said, it was childlike. To the point that I would sleep with my mom while she was here in a futon that we had in the spare room. I just wanted to be with her. I wanted to be with no one else. I wanted no relationship with my husband. I felt incapable of doing that. I would fall. I couldn't hold on to my own legs. I would forget where the bathroom was. I was told things over and over and over again and forgot them. The TV was my enemy. Sound was not my friend. Not my friend. Now you got to understand, I am an avid reader. I love to dance. I love to sing. I love to celebrate. I loved my work. Here I was, made into what I call a unwanted jello mold. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was. And I didn't like it. I begged my mother. My husband tried everything he could and talked to me, but it felt so different. And we were best friends. And I held on to my mother so tight and begged her, please take me home with you. And for us, that meant Puerto Rico because she had to go home. She had home. She had retired, but she had home to take care of. And she took me home. Now, for the purpose of transparency, I left home at a very young age. I think you know the answer to that. I had that wonderful stepfather. And I left home at a very early age and had no intentions of returning. Here I was, back home. Now the house obviously is very differently. My mom has, retired from the Puerto Rico telephone company and the high rankings. But it still felt like the place where I was violated, kicked, hit, not believed. It was not the place I wanted to be. But mom was there. I slept with my mom every night. She took me to psychiatrists. She took me to psychologists. And people would always want to know what happened. Was she always this way? Was she clinically depressed? And my mom would get so upset and say, no, you don't understand. This is not my daughter. This is not who she is. My daughter has a house. She lives in Connecticut. She has the career. She. But you could not tell from the way that I was handling the world. I've been in 7 psych units. 7 states. In Puerto Rico, while I was there, I went to a hospital that's called Capistrano. And it was my first time in a psych unit. In my head, I thought, if somebody could figure out what's wrong with me, there has to be somebody out there. So I went. But this is after. I'm staying at my mom's house. And a loved one comes with their 2 little ones, or maybe 3 little ones at that time. And their life, they came for vacation and just came to say hi to my mom. And their life is continuing. Mine stopped. Complete. I grabbed a knife from the kitchen and I wanted to stab myself, cut my veins, whatever it was. And this loved one was able to remove fight meat, which was not easy, fight meat and take the knife away. Then they tried to convince me that things are going to get better. And I said, no, you have to take me to hospital. You have to do somewhere. Somebody has to have the answer to this. And they took me to this hospital called Capistrano in Puerto Rico. And this is in the metropolitan area, if anybody knows anything about the island. So here I enter, I am trembling. The social worker sees you when you get there. They ask you all the traditional questions that are on, the check boxes. How old are you? What happened when, you were a child? Here's the thing. Why would I tell you what happened to me? I don't know you. I have no idea who you are. I don't even know what your name is. And you want all of this intimacy with me. And she said, well, I can't help you. And I said, look at me. Look at what I am. Look at me. I can't hold a cup of coffee. My body is trembling. She said, are you nervous? Do you have anxiety? And I said, yes, I have it all of it. And she said, do you want to kill yourself? And I said, absolutely. Of course, I want to die. Who wants to live this way? And she said, do you have a plan? I said, I'm here. And she quickly decided that I needed to be admitted. Now, I had never been into a psych unit in my entire life. So they make sure you don't have courts, belts, hearings, none of those things that potentially you can harm yourself with. Sit you in a cold room, and eventually your name is called. And in my case, I went upstairs. Behind the nurse's station, there's a little room. You sit there and you listen to the crises that are happening. You know, this one got hurt, the other one got hurt. The nurses are exchanging shifts, that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting back there going, oh my God, what is going on? But I didn't even want to speak. I was so tired. Finally, the nurse looks at me and goes, they're going to show you to your room. And they showed me to my room. That was it. I went into my room and there was this beautiful young woman. And she said hello. I said hi. And all I wanted to know was, who's fixed? Who gets fixed here? And I watched her sleep. She slept. I couldn't sleep. I heard noises all night. Check you with a flashlight. Who came up with that? Flashlight? I'm supposed to be sleeping. The next day came around. They wake you up for breakfast at a certain time. This is really early. 7 o'clock in the morning, have breakfast. They take you downstairs. There's a line of us. They take you downstairs to have breakfast. They take notes of how much breakfast do you have, 25, 35%, half of your plate. Well, I had no need to eat. I didn't want to eat. I didn't even like the smell of food. But somebody whispered in my ear and said, if you don't eat anything, you'll never get out of here. And so I don't know what I ate, but I ate something. And we went upstairs. And that happened for a couple of days. Then, believe it or not, if you go to a group, if you are seen outside in a TV room, which is very, very small, might fit 5-7 people, and people are laughing and they're smiling, and some people are so calm, they seem to me. Others are drooling. They have some meds, and the telenovela, the soap opera is on, and some people are watching it, and the sound of it is killing me. So I leave the room. And the lady who did maintenance, who I thought was the real professional in the whole thing, I said, what's going on? What happens here? And she goes, oh, honey, you'll get better eventually. And I said, when? She said, oh, you've only been here a couple of days. Well, that's all it took. A couple of days. I didn't curse at anybody. I didn't hurt anybody. I stayed away from that room because the TV bothered me, and they let me go. I talked to my family and told them that I could go home. And that meant my mom. My husband had to stay here in the States, in Connecticut, so he can continue living and providing. That was my first day. I went home, nothing changed. More meds, more meds, more meds, more meds, more meds, more meds. One made me too hyper, the other one made me nuts, the other one made me drool, the other one, made me dizzy, the other one, and the other one, and the other one. So where do I go? Second time to the hospital. Same hospital. Nothing happens. Except the second time, there was a DJ. I'm not lying to you all. There was a DJ. I've never seen that before. And he walked in and he put in some music in that little room that I'm telling you about. And I heard, I don't know about any of you, if you're familiar with salsa. And I love salsa. It's a dance. And I was called the white girl because I spoke English and blah, 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 blah. And I remember listening to the music and this lady looking at me going, yeah, like the white girl would know what to do. And I got so angry and I danced. It was this moment that I felt alive. Just this moment. Had I known what I know now, Maybe I could have grabbed myself then. But I was just annoyed by the fact that now we're going to dance. So my favorite question to everybody in the unit or anybody who would talk to me was, what do you take? What do you take? What's your cocktail? Why do you look happier than me? I remember this young woman saying to me, very young mother, saying to me, I come here for respite. That's why I come from. And all of a sudden their alarm sounded. And there was a woman who was trying to take her life with a curtain of the bathroom. And, you know, people ran up and down the stairs, down the hallway. And I guess they took care of her. Part of me felt, I wish I would have thought of that, but I didn't. That same night, unfortunately, I couldn't sleep again. Sleeping was a big problem for me. And I told the nurse that I was truly, truly constipated. And so she called for something. Didn't talk to the nurses much there at all. But the maintenance lady, oof, she was amazing. And they gave me a laxative. Well, think about, and that's going to get graphic. You're laying down and all of a sudden, vomit is coming out of your mouth. And you get scared because you think you're going to choke. And I stand up and I run to the hallway. And I said, oh my God, I made this mess, because I'm more concerned, of course, about the mess. And she yells, the nurse says, listen, this one made a mess over there. See what you can do. And they cleaned it up. Stay number 2. And I went home. My poor mother couldn't sleep because any chance I got, I wanted to figure out how to kill myself. This was not life. The pain in my husband's eyes, whenever I got to talk to him, I could hear it in his voice. Whenever I got to look at my brother, at my mother, at my aunt, the pity in their faces drove me crazy. Insane. Then we found out that there was a hospital, the best hospital in the world in Sidra. They're the best of the best. And so here we are. I think it was like an hour and a half or something away from where we lived, meaning in Puerto Rico, and we went there. I was there twice. Now I'm up to 4. I was there twice. The first time, and then they had physical activities, which I couldn't do. And, you know, they wanted you to go to the gym and blah, 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 and the same line. But there was no counseling in it. There was nobody talking to you about what you were doing, what was going on, none of those things. It was these routine things that took place, and hopefully you got a good roommate and you behaved well enough, and then you went home and you still have the same problem. And more meds, and they'll change the meds for you. That's always sweet. And my poor mother, she must have only gotten respite when I was gone. That's 4 times. So the last time I was in Sidra, I decided that I could probably swallow the glass as my glasses. I swallowed one of them. And then I think I freaked out and told the nurse I did. I could still talk, so I must have not done much. And then I was afraid of, were they going to put me in a dungeon? What was going to happen? So you understand, nothing was really clear in my head. Nothing at all. Nothing happened at all. They figured something would take place. My body would give it away, or maybe I threw it away, or nothing. Ask me why I did it. I was very clear. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. That's my plan. That's my goal. And I behaved well, which means you don't hurt anybody. You don't scream at anybody. You do, look okay. You might take a couple of bites to eat, and you get to go home. 4 times. Now my mom brings me back to Connecticut, and I didn't even know how that happened, but I wanted to come home. I remember my husband holding me for the first time, and he didn't feel so much as a stranger, and saying to me, Thank you for coming back. And all I can think was, you want this back? But his arm felt familiar and safe. So we began treatment here. As a patient, it is very hard to be not seen, not heard, not even taken into consideration. It's like you're part of the wallpaper and your cognitive is really not there. So it's very easy for people to say, are you depressed? Of course I'm freaking depressed. Do you have anxiety? Of course I'm freaking full of anxiety. And I couldn't sleep at all. I'd sleep 2 hours. I was up. The TV triggered me. I had nightmares. My poor husband. Sometimes I would pretend I was sleeping just so other people would get rest. And pray. I prayed a lot. As a woman of faith, I was very angry with God because I don't know what he was doing, but he was not paying attention to me. So here it got to the point where my mom traveled back home. And one day my dad was watching over me because I needed a sitter. Was watching over me, and I said, Dad, I'm going to take a bath just to relax. And he said, oh, sweetie, that's a good idea. And I did. But Daddy didn't know it was that I already had taken every pill I could had in my hands. I don't know how many pills. Took my bath, somehow got out of my bath and laid on the sofa. And he thought I was taking a nap. It was my exit plan. And I knew Daddy would believe that I was going to take a nap. It was my desire to die, and I almost did it. I ended up at one of the local hospitals where I live at, and I was in a coma. And we didn't know, right? What do I know? I'm in a coma. Later on, my mother told me that she had one prayer for God. God, if you're going to take her, she will be in peace. But if you give her back to me, don't give her back to me with that turmoil. It's killing her. And when she told me that, I thought, what kind of mother prays for her daughter to go? But as I recovered, I understood her prayer. So there I am. They transfer you to the medical department, to the psych. Let me just tell you, in this psych unit, it was 100 degrees, I swear to you. And the person who was supposed to be looking out for us, she fell asleep. And then I looked to the side, and guess what? It's one of my daughter's friends who's in the psych unit with me. How do you explain that? I was hoping she didn't recognize me. The shame was so much. And she said, hey, you're such and such's mother, huh? Uh-huh. She's like, what happened? I said, I don't know. And guess who was my roommate? She was. I got to hear a lot about this poor kid's story. Mine didn't add up. Mine just didn't add up. My mother fought and argued, and so did my husband. They didn't know what to do. Another hospital. Because I won't quit. I don't want to live this way. I can't type. I can't read. I can't take care of my house. I can't be a grandmother. I can't be a daughter. I can't be anything. Anything at all. And all I see is this pity look from my family. No friends. I didn't understand the difference between colleagues and friends. I do now. Colleagues and friends. My entire life was about working and taking care of my family. But friends, that's a whole different ball of wax. Very, very, very different. So at this hospital that I'm now in, and I will tell you this is from a patient's perspective, I am not a serial kind of girl, you know. And I remember being in this hospital, one of the most prestigious hospitals in the state of Connecticut. And I could see the cereal because at night you could have cereal and milk and little goodies and stuff like that. I'm hungry. And I say to the nurse, and the nurses are exchanging pictures of vacations and kids, and I'm full of envy, of course. I want to be on vacation. I want to be with my kids or whatever. And I said, excuse me. And this nurse turns around and says, what? I said, I'm hungry. And she said, what do you want? And I said, can I have some cereal? Wait a minute. And they went back to their pictures and all of that. This particular nurse, and I hope if she ever hears this, her name is Karen at UConn. She had blue, pretty eyeshadow, the coolest thing, young, full of life, happy with being a nurse. She came to me and she brought the cereal box and she brought the milk. And she said, how much cereal do you want? And she sat next to me and all I can think was like, oh, she's so pretty. And how does she get shiny eyeshadow? And I would say, aren't they going to be mad at you because you're over here? She's like, I'm supposed to be over here. And I ate my cereal. And she said, tastes like nothing, doesn't it? She said, try this one. This one has a little bit of sugar. But she sat next to me. This young woman probably could have been maybe in her mid-20s, full of life, full of energy. Every time she came in, she was the same. Every time. Then they had these structured groups, right? And here's what I talk about all the time. Here it goes. Structured groups. So you could go to the painting group. That meant holding a pencil and holding things. I don't think so. I could barely hold a cup of coffee. And then they had the groups where you sat and talked about addiction and deep emotions. Excuse me, I don't know you. I don't know these people. I don't want to do that. And where I come from, you do not do that. In my household, you keep your stuff to yourself. But to my surprise, I had more in common with those who identified as addicts. The pain, the struggle, the fight every day, the wanting to do better, the wanting not to have their family look at them that way. And finally, someone looked at me in the unit and said, why are you in that group? You have no history of addiction. And I said, I get it. I get what they're saying. I don't get the use of the chemical, but I get the pain. I get the withdrawing from your family. I get the not wanting to show who you really are to your family because you have no idea who you are. I get it. I get it. And so if you're well behaved, you don't cause any trouble, they let you go home and they do this exit family thing, where they sit you there, they talk to your family. Sometimes they talk to you. Sometimes you exist, sometimes you don't. And you go away because you have family, right? You have family. Poor mother and husband had no idea what to do with me anyway. And friends were not around to lend a hand. And we were pretty private about what was going on because we didn't know what was going on. So, as you know, my mother has integrated herself to the team back again. Because this particular time that my mother definitely made a decision that I was misdiagnosed. I was diagnosed with borderline personality. My mother was like, what are they talking about? Borderline personality, bipolar, anxiety was right. Depression, I was right, definitely right. This time in this unit that I was, I had a headache that I could not stop holding my head, and it was so bad. And then I had to go into this meeting that there was a nurse. Let's be clear, write this down. He identified himself as a real nurse. Were the other ones fake? He said, no, I'm a registered nurse. And so he would take the support group and he would talk about him being a bodybuilder and what his relationship was with his ex-partner and da 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 da. So every once in a while I had good moments. And I stood up and I said, I'm leaving. And he said, you cannot leave. I thought, excuse me? He said, well, you're going to look like you're not participating. And I said, here's a little bit of signs. You see, these are little signs. I wish I knew that I had something in there, that something was flickering in there. I said, oh, I need to be in this room to hear your story. And he said, no, I'm sharing experiences. I said, I don't care that you're a bodybuilder. I don't care that you have a good relationship with your ex-partner. I don't care. And to be a matter of fact, I don't care about you. He said, you are rude. I said, oh, and I walked away into my room, but the headache wouldn't go away. So I held on to my head so tightly, so tightly, so tightly. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. So tight, so tight. I wanted to contain it. Next thing I know, I wake up, I'm in 4 points. Yes, 4 points. Does anybody know what that looks like? If you don't, you should check it out. That's where a patient can actually be restrained, legs and hands. And I wake up. So they must have given me something. I wake up. My mother comes to visit me with my husband, as they always did, and my father. And they're not married, but they love their daughter enough to share space. And my mother has every reason not to like the pops. And my mom said, what did you do to my daughter? And they said, well, she got violent. And that's when my mother said, oh no, oh no. And looked at my husband. My husband said, violent? My wife is not violent. Oh yeah, she got violent and we had to put her in 4 points and so on and so forth and whatever. All I remember was waking up and being able to see my mom's face foggy and my husband. And I left. And I cry sometimes when I have to tell this story because this is really, really, really raw, y'all. Really, 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 really raw. And so I'm pouring out my heart to you. So what happens to a family like mine? You're told that you have natural services. You have a husband who makes a decent living. You have a home. You got a mother who can help you. No one ever talked to me about BIAC. Nobody ever talked to me about a program like the Navigator at BIAC. Nobody ever, 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 ever said there is an entity out there with lots of expertise and experiences that could help you navigate all these systems. Lord, if you don't know the importance of BIAC, my life could probably would have been saved. So much of my life if I knew, but I didn't. And nor did my family. There was no BIAC for us because we didn't know. Right? We didn't know. And we looked pretty okay. So my mom, being the hero that she is, I will not apologize for my tears because they're mine. Being the hero that she is, my mom found this neuropsychologist, Dr. Mitchell, may he rest in peace, in Sullington, not too far away from where I live. I live in Bristol. And she said, we're going to go see him. And I said, Mom, what difference does it make? You know, just let me die. Just, can I go to one of those states where you just can die? And she said, no, 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 Lee, which is her nickname for me. No, no, no. And my husband was like, no, absolutely not. And I remember cuddling up to my husband at this point and saying, just put me in a nice place and go on with your life. Just go on with your life. You've been a good husband. You've been a good father. You've been a good man. You've been an excellent professional. Go find yourself a woman you can share your life with. And he would say, you weren't a woman I wanted to share my life with. I had ECTs. Different to other people, felt that they were helpful. I did lose memory, but they helped with the anxiety and they helped with the depression. Did not take it away, but it helped. And I had many. I had more than 7. I have to look at my record, but I had more than 7. They were helpful to me. And I remember being excited to go into the ECT sometimes just so I could get rest. Just so my brain could rest for a little. And I remember coming out, being wheeled into the outside so where my family could pick me up, and feeling better and exhausted. So that was really not the solution. But my mother heard of this man and we went to see him in Southington. And we walked in to his office. And of course, I'm doing this for my mom because, there's no reason for me to do any of this. We all know I got 300 medications. My life will never be the same. I probably will end up in some institution somewhere. I'll be another statistic. But in my head, always there is the option of suicide. Always was an option. It always was an option. And people say that trying to commit suicide is selfish. I try to explain, and I beg you to understand that when somebody gets to a place where they feel that they are worthless, unseen, unheard, they're occupying space in the world, they're interrupting the life and the beauty that can happen if they're gone. That's what it was for me. Freedom for my loved ones. I'm sorry, it's hard to understand. And if you are thinking about it, let me just tell you, it's not worth it. I get it. I've been there. It's not worth it. Recuperating and the pain that I put my family through because I wanted to die. Not worth it. But I totally understand the pain. I do. So here come this great doctor, neuropsychologist. He sits me in his office, doesn't hold a pad. And I thought, okay, looks at me in my eyes. And he says, tell me what's going on. And my mom begins to be my advocate. She always was. And he said, Mom, is it okay if I ask Lydia? I said, Lydia. Well, my name is Spanish. And he said, okay, Lydia. He never had it right, but that's okay. What's going on? And I said, I don't want to live. And he said, oh, that's horrible. You're so smart. I've read your stuff. You're, if I may say, a very pretty woman. Why don't you want to live? And I said, did you read my record? Do you see how many medication I take? If you would have met me before, you wouldn't want me to live. He said, sounds like you're in a lot of pain. I said, yes, 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 yes. And don't ask me about my childhood and don't ask me about anything. And he said, okay. And then he asked my mom if she would feel comfortable with leaving me alone with him. My mom looked at me. I looked at her, gave her the nod. And he said, is it okay if I grab this piece of paper and pen? And I said, okay. So I thought he was going to do the checkbox. And he did a drawing. And in the middle of the drawing said, here's your pain, but it comes from somewhere. And he got me to talk about my childhood. Never, ever, ever was that spoken about. For many years, my mom denied it. For many years, my mom thought it was easier if I didn't know everything. For many years, I felt like the daughter who was never believed. And if you believe it or not, it was not until this morning that I got her full permission to talk about him. This morning. His beatings were so bad. His treatment was so bad. I would fight him like another man. They took me to juvie. And this is all in the island. But I had put all of this behind me. All of this. So I'm telling you this because there's many children and victims of domestic violence, children who have head injuries, who maybe like me when they turn up to adulthood will see some signs of it. The headaches, the depression, the constant anxiety, excuse me, they might. But it was so hard. And he had such a way. And it all came out. And I said, but I have one favor to ask immediately, like a 12-year-old. And he said, okay, don't tell mom. I was still a child, like the one person. My two people to protect was always my mom and my dad. But mom, you don't hurt mama. You don't do that. You don't do that. And it had been denied for so long. And I had let it go. It's part of my path. But man, did it make me a fearless advocate. It all made sense. He did a brain map. He did there. And he studied. Worked in collaboration with my psychiatrist. Started weaning down the medication. I was getting 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep. And then, you guys are not going to believe this. And then he tells me he's going to put me in front of this machine. Now, I'm not a clinician, so bear with me. Here it goes. There's some humor in this, I promise you. It's the good stuff now. I'm recovering. Okay. And then he tells me he's going to put me in this machine, right? Not in this machine. He's going to put these electrodes in my hair, in my head. And there's going to be some object that I would choose. I chose an airplane. My husband is an Air Force man. And with my brain, with my brain, I'm going to have to keep it above a line. And I thought, see, I always knew there was something wrong with this guy. There's no way. He said, try it. I said, there's no way. You're telling me that my brain has the power to keep this plane above this little line. But then I look to the side and there's like a 9-year-old, and then there's someone who's probably a couple of years older than me. He said, I'm going to sit right here. And I said, it's not possible. And he said, give it a try. It was so hard the first time. So hard. But some progress. And I kept on going and going and going and going. And that plane and me were friends. Recovery starts. less medication, talk therapy. Ugh, talk therapy. It's been so good to me. Learning to live again, accepting that my life changed. Thank you, Dr. Michelli, for all you did. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. Thanks to my hubby. So I want to leave you with many things for you to have as resources. But here's the truth. I couldn't go back to do what I used to do. I didn't have the concentration that I have for paperwork. I couldn't go back and work in the advocacy legal field that I worked in. Communications, I could always do a story here and there, but it was not where my heart was. Now I had a different passion. But I couldn't do that just yet. What was I going to do? Had a neighbor, may she rest in peace, Julie. And she was a nurse, and she said, you should become a nurse. I said, girl, I can barely read. She said, what about some nursing classes? And I was like, no way, no how. And she brought me this flyer to become a CNA, a certified nursing assistant. And I said, Julie, I am never going to pass this. I am never going to be able to do this. I'm going to be, I don't know, taking care of my husband, my family, and somehow I really couldn't drive yet because I would get lost in my own neighborhood. Lord, thank you for the GPS. And I would cry. By that time, I belonged to a group that was hosted by UConn, but did not belong to UConn. It was patient driven. So there was not a clinical component to it. So there were people in their 80s, there were people in their 60s, there were people like me, they were younger, and we just exchanged stories. Good days, bad days, a lot of colorful language sometimes. And that was very helpful. But it was at UConn. And I would get lost lots of times. So I had to leave an hour and a half earlier. And I would lie to my husband and say, you know, we leave early because we have coffee and do all these things. He probably knew the truth. But I got there. So I went to Willowbrook School and I studied really, really, really hard, and it hurt my head, and I never thought, and the anxiety was horrible. I never thought I would make it to the classes, and some classes were really hard, but what was easier for me was hands-on. And if you know anything about being a certified nursing assistant, you can work in a hospital. And your job is to take care of someone who can't take care of themselves at the moment. So you might be taking blood pressure, you might be taking temperature, you might be bathing someone, helping someone to walk down the hallway. You might be taking care of the elderly, and bingo, my grandmother and I were really close. I love the golden population. I graduated, but guess where I had to go take my test? To one of my previous employers' facilities. I was terrified out of my mind. They're gonna see me, they're gonna know me, blah, 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 stuff I don't even care about now. But I was a mess. And a girlfriend who was in the class, a classmate actually, called in the night before and said, are you ready? I said, I don't think I can go. And she said, you gotta go, we gotta go. You're my ride there. And I said, I don't think I can go, I don't think I can go. Well, I did. And by the grace of God, I passed. I couldn't get a job because I didn't have the experience. So I needed to do something, right? So I went to Wendy's. Oh, I forgot to tell you that. I went to Wendy's before going to CNA school. Do not mess with people who work in fast food, okay? That's a really hard job. I couldn't do it. Do not mess with people who work in fast food. Those are serious professionals, okay? Don't mess with them. I'm not joking. I'm being serious. I couldn't pull it off. So I read in the paper in one of our local papers that they were looking for home care and big jobs, personal care assistants. And I got this beautiful place that gave me a shot. Help at Home, the name of the company. I'm happy to announce it. And I went, and I was just supposed to take care of the person, bathe them if they needed to be bathed, comb their hair if they needed to be taken care of. But they paid for 4 hours sometimes. So I cleaned the house. I did other things. I wore a uniform with a badge, my name. I belonged to something. I had a purpose. I got up every day. I had to go take care of my peeps. I was very proud. I am still very proud. Still a lot of depression. But man, I got an assignment that changed everything. I take care of what we're going to call Miss C. Miss C, the beginning of her name. And Miss C said to me, baby, I don't know what your story is. First of all, she fired everybody she could fire. She knew what she wanted. She was bedridden, smart, as smart can be. And she said, baby, I don't know what your problem is. I said, ma'am, I need this job desperately. My boss had already said, she has fired everybody. If there's anything you could do to save this account, that would be great. And I said, ma'am, just give me one chance. And if I screw it up, I promise you, I will walk out there. She's like, of course you'll walk out there. I'll tell you how to walk out there. And I had my fabuloso, I had my equipment. So she fell asleep, and I went to clean the bathroom, and she smelled the fabuloso. And she said, hey, are you Spanish? And I thought, oh, no. Could this be bad? And I said, no, I'm Puerto Rican. And she said, proud of your roots, aren't you? And I said, yes, ma'am. Does this mean I'm leaving? She says, no, I love the smell of some fabuloso. I love me some fabuloso. Let me see the bottles. It's still the same book. And she could see me and she could hear me. It was an incredible bond. And then one day, she said to me, baby, I don't know what your story is, but I knew. But there's something underneath that hood. That there is something underneath that head. Start using it. Okay? Just letting you know. Start using it. Working for Miss C was like working for a wisdom fountain. I look forward to seeing her. And I remember her last Christmas before God called her. I said to my husband, I know it's Christmas. Our children are grown, so they come over. I know it's Christmas, but I really, really want to go see her. And he said, of course, go. So I had my little present, which you're not supposed to do, by the way. And she had her little present for me. She threw this box at me. She goes, what are you doing here on Christmas? And I said, I needed to see you. She's like, good, I got something for you. And she threw the box at me. I said, but see, you know we can't take any presents. She said, take the present or you're fired. Okay. And I kissed her. At this point, we can kiss and we can hug and all of those. And it was just such a delicious moment. I do use the word delicious a lot. It was her last Christmas. When I got the phone call from the family, and I was honored to be invited to her celebration of life. She saved my life. She gave me the bravery to then start looking at hospitals, at elder centers to get a job, and I did. And I was very, 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 very happy. Then I fell and hit my head, got a concussion. And my husband said, no, I beg you, if you love me, please no. Please don't go back. Do whatever you want. Don't go back. I figured he had suffered enough. So I didn't go back. Oh, that was so painful. But what do I do now? So I talked to some people who I walked the journey with, and they're like, Lily, you have so much experience. You're a great advocate. You help all of us. They didn't know my history. And our professional history or some of my real history. And I called somebody up and I said, can I just start a movement, start business if I wanted to? And they said, of course, welcome to America. And I did. I started Lilly sin Barreras, Lilly without barriers. And I started charging $0, $5, $25, $50. Some people now hire me for $2,000. My friend Sarah would say, whatever, you still work for pennies. I am blessed. I am blessed. Every day, I have to find a reason to be motivated. And being the CEO and founder, I love to say that. Can I say it one more time? Because I thought I would never be able to say those words. CEO and founder, which means you cook, you clean, you paint, you do it all. My language, being able to speak to you, I stutter sometimes, so just make fun of it. I use sense of humor all the time. It is the best. As a matter of fact, when I was a little girl, my mother used to say, oh God, you're such a clown. She was right, I am. I can make a joke pretty much about anything. I started my own show. And we have it on YouTube. We do Facebook Lives. Why do I do those? Just let's let people in, share all the information we can. If there's a cause we need to be united to, we go out there and we do it. And let me just tell you this, I have never made a call to our communities. And I have the blessing of having the Muslim community, the Baptist community, the Catholic community, the atheist community, gay, straight, lesbian, transgender, queer, unidentified, bisexual, including my granddaughter, be part of it. And now I could say, I have a life. I know I'm one of the lucky ones. I know I'm one of the blessed ones, but I have dark days too. I have days where suicide is no longer an option for me, but I do have limitations. I have days where the computer can only be used for certain hours, and I need to be honest. I need to be cautious about my time and how do I use it. I do yoga. If the sound is not too screechy that day, I can watch TV now. I can shower all on my own. I can put on my own makeup. I can cook my own food. I can enjoy my family. I'm one of the lucky ones. I am blessed. Beyond blessed. I can't explain to you every time I go see someone and they tell me I wasn't as lucky. And I know that. I know. And if I had succeeded at anything that I tried, I probably would not be here, or probably would be in very critical conditions. So I know that I am blessed. In my faith and my belief, I have a mission and I have a purpose. A purpose. I'm 52 years old. And I want to continue to advocate for agencies like the Brain Injury Alliance. I want programs like the Navigator to be covered by every medical insurance in the country. I want agencies like BIAC to be everywhere. I want every man and woman and child to know that your brain must be honored, protected, taken care of. how to nurture it. And these are things we don't talk about. We don't talk about it. We don't like to talk about childhood abuse. We don't, unless it's specific arenas. You know, we celebrate, we have moments where we celebrate our victories. We have moments where we do fundraisers, but are we talking about it all the time? And it's very hard for people to understand. Very, very hard for people to understand the fact that you can have a brain injury and look different than the most common one. But haven't we been fighting those stereotypes forever with women, with the skin that we walk in, with the language that we speak? I remember being told, don't speak Spanish. I remember being told we can't rent to you. I remember all of those things. So when you look at me and you say she doesn't look broken enough, what are you saying? What are you saying? When you look at me and you say she does not look broken enough, what are you saying? You don't live in this house. You don't know what my family's been through. I told you a little bit about it, but you don't know. There are other families who have lost their loved ones. There are other families who are still waiting for their loved ones to wake up. There are mothers mourning the loss of their children. As a mother, I can't even imagine what that feels like. There are kids walking around without limbs. There are soldiers walking around with severe PTSD and brain injuries and TBIs and being ignored. This life is not easy. It is not easy. And this is not dinner talk. This is not, oh, by the way, I have a brain injury. Your intellect is questioned. People ask you to be on boards and then wonder if you can participate. That's my favorite one. And why ask me? I am a tough cookie, but I know what it is to be crumbs because I was. And there's not one day that goes by that I don't have some memory that reminds me about how blessed, how lucky, and that this human can come back anytime. So if you are watching this video and you think, how does she do it? I'm gonna tell you exactly how I do it every day. And I hope this is helpful to you. I carry a notebook, and those who know me know it's true. And the notebook has two sides. And I'm going to show it to you. I'm not going to show you all the details because that would be wrong, right? On this side, they're all my blessings. On this side, they're all my tasks. Every day. Blessings, tasks. And the reason why I do this is my blessing could be, I made coffee this morning. My husband made coffee this morning. My daughter called me. I could hear her. I just saw someone at the grocery store and I was able to recognize them. Y'all know how difficult it is when somebody says, hey, how are you? I haven't seen you forever. And you're so grateful because they're happy they saw you and you have no idea who they are. No idea. And they tell you the story and they remember the time and they remember how old your children were and they went to school together and you have no idea. Having to settle with never being able to get that memory back, it's part of it. Getting headaches and knowing that it's part of it, also that. Knowing that if you don't exercise 3 or 4 times a week, your body's going to feel different, it's part of that. Going to a chiropractor who understands the neurology behind it, like I do. I have Dr. Hudson that I go to, recommend him to anybody. I go to him because he also lost a brother in presence. His brother's alive, but not the same brother. Okay? He gets it, he gets it. Gets why it's important for our brains and our bodies to be connected. Nutrition. I know this sounds crazy, but it's true. When someone tells you they're feeling bad, when someone tells you something's not right, give them a hand. Give them a hand. But if you are as blessed as I am to have a mother, a father, a husband, an entire village for me, which is small in comparison to others, you are not. You are blessed. And that's how I do me every day. Every day. What are the people that I help? They're the people who are invisible, ignored, mistreated by others. Those are the ones that call my agency. Those are the ones who sign up for workshops. Those are the folks who call me and say, "Could you talk to my students? Can you talk to this program who's suffering of addiction? Can you talk to them? Can you share the strategies?" I have a lot of strategies. Some of them were horrible. Some of them were fabulous. Fabulous. Cognitive behavior, I'm all about it. I am not a fan of our present psych unit as we run them today. Not a fan. I'm sorry. I think we have a lot of work to do there. I hope that my story in some way helps you and inspires you. There's a lot of good doctors out there that like Dr. Leibowitz. There's a lot of good doctors out there. There's the Sarah Raskins of the world saving people. There's many people that buy it trying to make a change. I hope that my story helps you understand that we all look different and that we all want the same thing. We want to be loved. We want to be respected, treated with dignity. Let us participate in society because we are part of your society. In my belief, may God bless you, protect you, cover you. Do not stop the fight. I'm right here with you. I'm signing out. My name is Lydia. God bless you. Welcome, everybody. My name is Lydia Velez-Herrerra, LVH, better known as Lilly. Today, I'll be your keynote speaker. I am super excited.
All right. That was amazing, Ms. Lilly. Lilly, you're with us, right?
I'm right here in my car coming out of a psych call for one of our boys. So I apologize. Here I am in my car or my truck.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for that. I don't know if you saw all the hearts and applause.
Nope, I just got on.
Okay. So let me turn my video. So that was just powerful, beautiful, incredible. I don't know. So what Lily's saying is that she's working with folks now and had to bring one in. This is the work that she does. She feeds people. She takes them to the hospital. She advocates for them. I don't know, maybe, do you want to say anything, Lily, or should we just go to questions that people might have?
Oh, I'm open to questions. As always, this is the first time that I actually look at the video and, well, a couple of weeks back. And so I'm in gratitude again.
We are grateful to you for sharing your story and being so incredibly generous. So does anybody have questions for Lily? Since we're honored to have her here with us. And she's, you heard just now, not afraid to answer questions. Or you can put in the chat. So while they're thinking, I guess I have a couple questions, although I've talked to you a little bit before. I haven't heard your whole story before. And so I know that was raw and hard and a lot for you to share. And I know that I've been with you in spaces where people have said, what, you got injured as a child and then it bothered you as an adult? Or what, was it a brain injury or was it a psychiatric problem? And so, you know, I think those are questions because of the way that we teach this information, like to my students who are here. You know, we compartmentalize everything. So there's, you know, neurologic illnesses and there's psychiatric illnesses and they're separate, or there's childhood trauma and there's, you know, adult sequela and those are separate. So what do you say to people when they ask you questions like that?
You know, I have the answer. And I think I said this in the video, is how broken do I need to be? I think, you know, when do you have a brain injury, it affects all of you. And unfortunately, my neurological evaluation came way, way later. So the psych was something that people, as you said, are used to somehow working with. So the presentation of, you know, looking depressed, sounding depressed, wanting to terminate your life, it's more common for people. So, you know, we have that checkbox because we still don't have another way to attend to these issues. So it's a lot easier for people to do that. I leave judgment to people on their own. I tell my story and it is mine and there it goes. But I think that because of the way it's taught, or because of the clinical components and that damn checklist that's out there, a lot of people like myself and many vets and others end up in psych units not getting holistic treatment.
So you towards the end, you mentioned that there are things you would change about our current psychiatric care. Can you share just a minute or two of what you might change?
All of it. Close them down. Just freaking close them down. I'm not talking about necessarily the staff. Close them down, build a house of love, build a place where, you know, there's actually a backyard where people can actually go get some fresh air, get me a sunroom, stop giving me freaking crayons. I can't even hold them in my hands. You know, it hurts me to look at colors. Individualize me. Don't criminalize us. You know, when the doors open and they close and you hear, I don't know if anybody who's been in a psych unit even visiting, I mean, you hear those doors, they slam, they close. You take stuff away from me. You know, you take my voice, you strip me of everything. And so there are precautions to be taken care of. You know, I can meet you halfway, maybe, but you know, if you visit units, I invite you to visit units. I would tell you that if you visit UConn Hospital in particular, and I like a lot of my folks there, they have the circle in the middle and it looks like a judge stand. Does anybody even know what I'm talking about? And so,
nurses station, yeah.
Oh my God, it's just like, what the hell is that? I'm 5'3", maybe. And so, you know, I got to stand on my tippy toes just to get your attention. And so you're so, and break them down.
All right, so we have a couple questions in the chat and I'll read them to you. Kayla says, first off, that was super powerful. I have never heard of a story like yours and really appreciate your openness. I was really shocked by the lack of a diagnosis and the misdiagnoses you received. I can't imagine how frustrating that must have been. How many years was it between when your first symptoms first began and when you were given a diagnosis?
4 years. And I'm honored to share. 4 years.
So Kiara says, what are ways that you continue to take care of your health? And what would you say to somebody who may be experiencing something like you have?
Everybody is different. Trust your gut, which is really hard to do after you've been trying to figure out who you are again. Society has such a stigma about, you know, if I had diabetes, right, and I look like I'm having a crisis, and you are aware of that, would you not try to look through my bag and see what do I need? If I have an anxiety attack, people look at you like you're out of control. And I say, could you please go into my bag and get, you know, my medication, because in half an hour I will be back to who I was. That freaks people out. So how do I take care of myself? Being aware. I'm blessed that I can make my own schedule. I'm blessed that I have friends who remind me again that my schedule is crazy and I can't do everything on my own. My faith is very important to me, not religion. religion, I'm sorry, I hope I don't offend anybody, pisses me off most of the time. But my faith keeps me strong. And I write a lot. I try to take walks. Yoga is my go-to. And I cry when I need to cry. I no longer, like if I need to cry and you're in front of me and tears came out and I can say, I'm having a bad day. Today's not my shiny day. Today's a little bit cloudy. So I've learned to accept that and clean my circle. If you are in my circle and I make you feel uncomfortable or you can't trust me because of your beliefs about me, then I've learned to say to people, we're not a good match. I wish you the best, but we're just not a good match.
Sierra says, you mentioned that it took your mother a long time to be able to talk about everything that happened throughout your childhood. What did you do, or what would you recommend to do to get your mom or a loved one to open up?
Wow, that's a powerful question. I don't think my mom would ever had spoken about it or acknowledge it until she realized that it was part of getting me to the other side. I think her fear of losing me, not only physically, but losing the daughter that she considered a powerhouse, was bigger than her having to admit. To this day, I mean, she goes in and out of, be careful who you say it to, and please, you have my full permission. And you got to understand she's a survivor herself. And so, there's a lot of contradictions. What would I say is scream. Scream from the top of your lungs. If you have to run away, run away. But I think parents, when we accuse parents, which is really hard not to do because you are in charge of my safety, they feel that. They feel like the weapon's coming towards them. So things that I say to people all the time is, can you honor my emotions? Can you honor my feelings? Can you just let me finish? You don't have to say, yes, it's true or not. Let me finish. And when somebody tells you, it's best to believe them. It's best to believe them. You can do no harm by believing them. You can do a lot of harm by not.
Yeah, that's a good point. I want to make sure that folks know Lilly is actually writing a book about her experiences, and she's a beautiful writer. It's an amazing book, and I will be sure that folks know about it when it's ready to be bought and read widely. Corinna says, I just want to say thank you so very much for sharing your story. I have 2 older siblings with severe illnesses that have each been hospitalized recently. They talk about how awful the psych wards are, and I don't think the rest of my family and me have acknowledged that. So thank you. This was truly eye-opening.
It's beautiful to hear that you can hear them. That you can hear them when they say it's awful. And it's much easier to say, here are a specialist, and we give charge to them because we're desperate, right? You're hoping that somebody has the magic one. But is it Kira? Or did I miss the name?
Corinna.
Who made the comment?
Corinna.
I think the fact that you're listening, it's amazing.
And I think it's interesting, Lily, I don't want this to be lost on the students either, the notion that there's good and there's bad, right? So you talk about ECT being helpful to you, which I know I've had other people who didn't think it was helpful. You talk about taking medications, and some of them help you and some of them don't help you. So I think really, I so appreciate and honor your point that you're making, which is that everyone's an individual. And so what works for one person may not work for someone else. It can't be one size fits all. And that what works for you today may not work for you tomorrow. And so that you really need, for the students here who are thinking about being care providers in the future, to just remember that it has to be a constant listening and a constant communication. I think you really made me see that so powerfully.
And we're used to not being heard. So when you nod as a provider, when I do trainings with providers, I say, ask for clarification. This is what I heard. Is that what you really wanted to tell me? And they might say, no, that's not what I said at all, and be ready for that. And be ready to get hired and fired. That's one of the things I say in my trainings all the time. Your provider is someone you hired. May you have Husky from the state, partial LACE, private insurance. I hired you. And this is a business transaction. And I know that sounds cold, but I've had to say to people, it's okay to fire your therapist, your psychiatrist. And it's okay also to say to them, this is not working. Can we try something else? And you would not believe how many therapists appreciate that and go, oh, okay. It wasn't only me struggling. I felt like we were having trouble here. All right, let's try something else. Or I was afraid to introduce this cognitive behavior type of thing, and you're supposed to become a team. And if you can't be a team, then
Absolutely. Anything else you would want to tell either students that may be struggling with some of your struggles or students that may be hoping to become clinicians in the future?
No one is exempt. When you look at yourself in the mirror, look at the whole person. I'm 52 years old, and I wish someone would have said to me in my 20s or so, my daughter's in her 30s, it's all gonna be okay. Fight your fight, scream as loud as you can, go fight for your dream. You're gonna have good days, you're gonna have bad days. Make sure you have a good tribe. And they don't always look like you or sound like you. Be present. There is pain in life, and you're gonna feel it. And if you're looking for perfection, it's gonna cause you so much pain. You're growing, but you're already beautiful. You're growing, but you were beautifully made and divine. So anybody who's trying to take that away from you, let them know that's not possible. You are the only person who can give them permission to do that. So don't give them permission. And if you're going to cry and scream or whatever it is, do it. Don't be afraid to because for us women, you cry a couple of tears and they're like, oh, you're out of control. A guy cries and you're like, oh my God, how sweet. He's someone who can cry. Oh my God. I'm like, what the? I'm not sure I could say that. I'm sorry, Professor. But I'm like, it's like, so I cry and you're like, oh my God, maybe we should women do it to one another, I must say. Should we give her the project? No, go away. I tell people, it's okay to say, no, I don't belong in this arena. But again, I'm 52 years old. I've been, through, I was that girl who, wanted to be perfect and I've been blessed. I've worked for some amazing people, some amazing activists and all that kind of stuff. But, I didn't necessarily receive acceptance in the people that look like me and sound like me or carry the last name like mine.
So Amelia says, I love that advice.
Kick ass! Wrong speaker, huh?
I love it.
Go kick ass! Go to my trainings, we'll speak a lot more like that.
Her trainings are phenomenal. She did one at Trinity. You did one at Trinity a couple years ago, right? Back when we were allowed to be in a room together.
I know. It's horrible because I'm a hugger. I'm like that 2-year-old that you have in your house who wants to hug you and you're like, no, go away.
Never. I would love a hug. Always.
So it's hard.
Any other questions or anything else you want? I'm respectful of your time and I know you just got out of the hospital and you need to get home. So.
And my person is doing good.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm
He's
so glad.
doing good.
He's all right.
He's all right. He's all right. Just took him home. He's okay. We have a check team around the clock, and
So how can students support your work or get involved with your work?
well, when I'm done with you guys, I'm gonna go serve food and give out shoes and socks and all that kind of stuff. That's what we do on Tuesdays. We have a membership of $7 a month. Helps me buy all of these items and pay for gas and all that kind of stuff. I immediately answer the question that everybody asked me, why aren't you a nonprofit? And it's because I don't want anybody to tell me who I can serve. So I don't want monies to be attached to, it has to be 30% Latinos, or it has to be people between 15 and 35, or it has to be people who have a criminal background or don't have a criminal background. It's walk up to the table and let's see what we can do. So that's, people support my mission. Some people just send me a donation. Some people just stop by and have shoes for me and socks and underwear. I'm the queen of underwear for men and women. And most of my folks are marginalized or are not in housing or stable housing or so on and so forth.
So right, food donations, clothing donations, shoes,
Bus passes.
or just cash, if anybody's interested in helping out with the work that she does. I just dropped in the chat the link to her organization, so you can read more about it. And there's a donation thing, although I don't know, it's working now, yeah? The donation button. I had some trouble.
Oh, yes. I am so new at this. I'll share this with you guys. And so I started a movement, right? And then, you can't do it with your salary, which mine is, like very little. And so just in case you guys are any of you, so you need the help of others. I've been very blessed to receive the help of others, including students from Trinity College who've been very, very, very supportive of the initiatives and the movement. But we had to start a link and do all of that kind of stuff. So I had to go to people who are smarter than I am and technology and all that kind of stuff. And I'm horrible at asking. Horrible. I'm happy to ask for underwears and bras and socks and that kind of stuff. I'm like, where are your socks? And hoodies and all that kind of stuff. I'm horrible to ask for money. Horrible. So.
All right, so the link is there. Any last questions for Lily before we let her go? She's probably in the top 3 amazing humans I've ever met. So I encourage you to learn more about her work and ways that we can support her.
Oh, I see the hands. See, I'm learning all of these things. That's good, right?
Those are clapping. They're clapping.
Oh, okay. I'm learning all of these things. I told you I was 52 years old. We didn't have none of this stuff when I was growing up. Can I just end with saying something? The fact that you watch the video means a great deal to many people. Please, please, please look at people. Look at them, hear them, see them, even the ones who annoy you. I'm not saying hang out with people who are, just not good for you, but I'm just saying, people have bad days, and it's okay to have a bad day. And I think pain causes pain, and people suppressing all of it is what gets you to probably where I got to, because it was much easier for me to deny and hide and lie and focus on others. And so self-care is very important. Hey, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm supposed to run 100 miles an hour, okay? Nonstop, with gas or without gas. So, those are cultural expectations that I think most of us have, regardless of where you come from. And I hate to pick on us girls, but majority of us, women, we have all these hats that we wear and, all of these crazy expectations and the spoken and the unspoken. So be careful with the unspoken, because that one is actually louder than the spoken one. But thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye. Wait, there's another way.